Hey there folks, Scottsdale Travel Chick's sidekick here to give you an overview of our recommended day trip through the Columbia River Gorge. Columbia River Gorge is a beautiful area in the Pacific Northwest where the Columbia River drops through the Cascade Mountains on its way to the Pacific Ocean. It's a designated scenic area with some absolutely beautiful sights that can be reached from either Portland, Oregon or Vancouver, Washington in less than an hour. To visit the River Gorge, you'll typically travel from west to east and finish around Cascade Locks or the Hood River area. So, the day tour we cover here will hit the key spots through that area and finish at Cascade Locks in the east. But first, a little history on the Columbia River Gorge. The Columbia River was the final part of Lewis and Clark's expedition exploring the America West back in 1805. And they used this river to reach the Pacific Ocean. Then, back in the Ford Model T days, a scenic road was built, now known as Route 30, through the gorge to bring tourists to the area. It was fully completed in 1922. Interstate 84 is now the main highway through the area, but you can still take the old Route 30 scenic road to see most of the natural attractions we'll mention in this video. We recommend you taking it starting from the west at I-84 exit 22 for Corbett Hill Road. So without further ado, let's get going. On the first section of the gorge from the west, we recommend 4 primary attractions. An asterisk here means we actually visited them, and no asterisk means another option for you to consider. They are the Columbia View Lavender Farm, Vista House Crown Point, Latourell Falls, and Bridal Trail Falls. First up is Columbia View Lavender Farm. It's a nice little place where you can get some pictures in a lavender field and also buy some local lavender-based products.
All right, so we found this place on our way to this hike. We're going to check this out. Got my pair of scissors, and you can pick lavender for $7. The tricky part is the field has bees in it, so we have to be a little aware.
What are you doing?
I'm cutting my lavender.
Okay.
My purple scissors.
Are you gonna cut some more? Need a big handful.
Okay, let's do these. Here we go.
Is that it?
That's plenty for me.
Next up is Vista House Crown Point. Known for its viewpoint both north and south along the river, it was originally built in 1918 as a rest stop observatory for early travelers. Here's a short drone video we took going up and over Vista House out to the river. Latourell Falls are next, and they are the first falls you'll come to from the west. They are unique within the gorge as they are the only falls which drop straight down from an overhanging cliff. Believe it or not. There are 2 short hikes here, one to an overlook and another to the bottom of the falls. There is also a longer 2.4-mile loop hike which takes you to the top of the falls as well. These are beautiful falls and definitely worth the stop. We're in the midst of this waterfall. I'm gonna get a picture, but a little too misty maybe. Shepherd's Dell. Okay, so I didn't mention this one up front and just snuck it into the list here. Why? Well, because it's technically closed. But if you have a bit of time, you can easily sneak around the barricade and make the very short walk to the bottom. There's a great picture looking back up to the bridge above. Near the end of the lower Gorge area, you'll come to Bridal Falls. There are two trails here, a 6/10 mile hike to Bridal Falls and a half-mile loop trail to an overlook on the Columbia River. You can knock both of these hikes out pretty quick, so do both. Interesting point, this area used to be a logging town back in the day, and you can still see remnants of a mill pond and log flume along the Bridal Veil Creek. By the way, do these falls look like a bridal veil to you? Moving further east, you'll come to the middle of the gorge. The primary attraction in this area is Multnomah Falls, but there are a number of other falls in the area worth exploring if you have the time. We'll touch a bit on each in this section. You'll first come to Wahkeena and Ferry Falls. Wahkeena is a beautiful 242-foot waterfall reached by a short hike. You can hike a bit further to Ferry Falls if you also desire. Unfortunately, we didn't have time for either of these. Next up is the most famous site in the park, Multnomah Falls. These falls are the tallest in the state of Oregon at 620 feet and the most visited natural wreck site in the Pacific Northwest. There's also a lodge here where you can grab some snacks or even a sit-down meal. Unfortunately, this area was closed due to COVID during our visit, but it's a definite stop you should make. I guess there's always next time for us. Moving along, you'll come to two more falls worth considering. Horsetail Falls, which you can reach by a short half-mile hike just off the road, and Triple Falls, which you can reach by doing a 1.8-mile loop hike. The last waterfall you might want to consider here is Upper Elowah Falls, sometimes called McCord Falls. It's a tall waterfall and a short but challenging hike to get there, which is part of the appeal. This one is not a family hike. As you continue driving west, you'll reach the Upper Gorge area, which we thought had the biggest variety of options to explore, most of them being centered around the town of Cascade Locks. Your first stop will be Bonneville Dam. Bonneville opened in 1938 and had at the time the highest single lift lock in the world. Today the dam is an electrical powerhouse generating more than 1 gigawatt of renewable energy. There are lots of things to see and do here, but perhaps the coolest thing to see are the fish ladders and underwater viewing areas. There are also organized tours you can take here as well. Next up, take a break at Locks Waterfront Grill. It's a nice little homey place right on the water to grab a bite to eat. And this is also where you'd organize a steamboat ride or dinner cruise on the river. Check out sternwheeler.com for more details on that if you're interested. Finally, one more hike to consider if you're up for a longer 2-miler to a remote waterfall, Dry Creek Falls. You'll have to drive a little bit out of town to get to the trailhead, but it's worth it. The hike mostly parallels Dry Creek up to a beautiful waterfall. Last but not least, it's worth a stop at Starvation Creek Park. There's a unique story worth reading here on how the park got its name, and there are 2 short hikes to waterfalls, Starvation Creek Falls and Hole-in-the-Wall Falls. If you are a bit adventuresome, you can even hike to the base of Starvation Creek Falls. It's worth it.
You get this view here. Pretty awesome.
Well, there you have it, our recommended sites for a day trip through the Columbia River Gorge and Scenic Highway. You've got more than enough options here to fill up a very long day. Until next time, see you later.